Hey everybody, food for thought, all right? So this is a bow I built, 30.5, 70 pounds. So this isn't a heavyweight, this is more towards the average pounds people shoot. If you're a shorter draw length, this would be magnified. If you shoot less weight, this would also be magnified. But hopefully I've got a few of you thinking, because in the end, that's what I want. I want you guys to think about it. I want you to know the pros, the cons to the decisions that you make, and also maybe think back to all those people, you know, less than half a decade ago that bow hunted, and some of these arrow topics weren't even discussed. People went out and had an awesome time hunting with pretty much the type of arrows that every archery shop recommended to people that walked in the door. All right, maybe you can even see this. Last two had a little bit of more kind of going around like that in the back, but I'm gonna come down here and show you something. So just so you know, I was shooting at 40 yards. That was 40 yards, because a lot of people with these tests are saying, well, I'm only a whitetail hunter, so what does it really mean for some of these tests for someone who's gonna shoot 40 yards or less? So here's what it's gonna mean. Okay, right there. There we go. Okay, so that is a 460, 510, 610, 685 for those arrows. Okay, penetration. Obviously, penetration depends where you hit this foam, so that's not what we're looking at. But here's what we are looking at, okay? What we are looking at is this sight scale right here. Okay, take a look at this sight scale. So I actually did this with a marker. So the top baseline is my 20, and 20 is pretty close. The heaviest arrow does need a few more yards just to be accurate, but for the most part, the other ones at 20, things are, you know, fairly close to what's happening, right? Okay, well now let's go to, this is 40 yards, 40. So look at the difference on a scale between where I have to move that sight to shoot these other arrows. Okay, so take a look at that. Now here's another thing I want you to see. So I am going to I'm actually, well, let me just do this to make it real easy. So if I put my sight mark on the spot where I had to shoot for the 510 grain arrow, which my arrow is actually a little heavier than that. I hunt with a 530 grain arrow or so. So if I put my top pin on that, if you look, when people say there's not much difference in the pin gaps, literally the difference at 40 yards of drop is equal to those 2 pins between that 685 and the 510. Now there's substantially more obviously between the 460. For me, that's getting a little bit on the lighter side, mainly because that one right there, the way that it's configured. And granted, all these arrow shafts, just so you know, they're all Axis match grade 300s. The only variation is the point weight itself. I kept the arrow the same, so we're comparing apples to apples. Okay, so for apples to apples, let's talk about this. So if I take this sight scale off, okay, I'll take this sight scale off, and I'll put it right there so you can see the difference. Sorry. Put it right there so you can see the difference. Okay, again, this is 40 yards. Okay, so now we're down to my sight tape that is sighted in for this bow in a, it's actually sighted in with a 530 grain arrow, 530 something. Okay, so this is very similar to what I hunt with, okay? So with my 2-pin sight, if I'm set on 20 yards, my second pin is literally 38.5 yards. So honestly, with my speed, top pin right here, top pin is, what is going on with this focus? Okay, top pin, iPhone, is 20, second pin is 38. So, you know, honestly, that is awesome on an animal. Not to mention, if my top pin's 20 and my bottom pin's 38, honestly, top of my bubble is almost 50. So that really helps me hunt on the fly. That's really critical, because last year this setup was so awesome for me. And also that's another reason why I shoot my sight closer to the bow. So like you can see on the knock-on sights, it's closer to the bow, doesn't have the dovetail. Just because the further you put your sight out in front of the bow, the bigger that gap's gonna get too. So I keep mine close so my gap's tight, because in a hunting situation with a 2-pin, well, now I'm able to have 20 straight up. If the deer's at 40, I'm pretty much holding an inch high, 30 splitting my gaps. If I had to shoot like a big elk at 50, I'd have no problem, because I know from testing on my elk, I just have to put the top of my bubble right on the kill zone. So having a 20 to 50 in a space that big versus literally a 20 to 40 in a space that big is huge. It really is huge. So that's why I like it. For you 2-pin shooters out there that are shooting an ultra heavy arrow that you might not need, depending on the game you're going after, think about that, factor that in. And then one more thing before I go here, I just want to show you guys, for the record, the best penetration was actually the smaller arrow. This doesn't count. I know it's in a used target, so this doesn't count, but I didn't want someone to say, oh, I bet the deepest one was that. Look at this. 410, 510, 610, 685. This one's a little bit too stiff, as light as it is with the lighter point. This is now too weak, to be honest with you. The height doesn't matter, but this actually correlates to a topic I'm going to be doing later called the hill method. So you can see these two arrows are actually much better spined, and they're much more center. These ones start to hit outside of center, so I know there's a spine issue, and I could have walked that in by, you know, either less poundage or point weight, etc. But that's how it looks, guys. Something to think about.